So psyched.
We're live.
Question. Do I
What?
look more intimidating with glasses or without the glasses?
Without.
Intimidating
Cool.
any.
Then I will not be wearing glasses tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Easy for those of you who know what we're talking about on this call.
Frank, I like your shirt.
Thank you.
It's polka dots. I love polka
I
dots.
think you say that every single time.
Huh? Frank has good shirts.
Every single time when Frank wears that shirt.
No, it's a different shirt, girl. I just got this like a few weeks ago.
Wait, you just got, so now you have two polka dot shirts?
Polka dots is like a common thing. What?
Is it from H&M or Forever 21?
This is Zara. It's a Zara,
I can't afford Zara. I ain't about it.
Yeah, just shop deals at Zara, okay?
Yeah, shop the sales.
I can't fit into Zara. That's the thing. You
Yo,
know that
me
makes
too.
fun-
Me too.
Timmy, I'm a large at Zara. That makes you feel better now.
Okay.
I'm too short for Zara.
Ready to go live?
It's been live. We're live, but
Live.
we have like I don't think anyone on right now.
We have 4 viewers.
We have 4
Oh.
viewers, really?
Ourselves?
Oh, this is us.
No, 4 other viewers.
Oh,
Oh.
that's cool. And here
Yeah,
I am
so
eating.
Nicola, take it away.
Oh.
Awkward.
It's okay. Hi, everyone. Dude, I totally blanked out. Welcome to tonight's Eboard question and answer meeting, session, forum, where we will be taking questions from those who are watching and be able to provide you guys a little bit more insight on what the executive board actually does. And this is completely open for all those who are interested, all those who are just wondering what we do besides being like pretty faces on the photos. And just in case you guys want to join all the way in the next few terms. So, Timmy, if you want to share our roles and responsibilities, or do you want all of us to just share our own?
We'll just share our own.
Okay. If you guys are interested, those who are following online, if you guys go to elections.unavsa.org and you click on positions, you'll be able to get our direct responsibilities from the Constitution. So I'll start off for the presidency role. Just like in any organization, not only do I oversee all the different projects and our team, my goal I feel my responsibility is to push forward the vision that we have as a collective and to ensure accountability across the board. Whenever we have different types of partnerships, whether it be internal or external, I would also try to be a part in all of that and a part in all the engagements that happen on a regional level. And I think that's just in a very broad sense what I do for my position. Lucy?
Hello, everyone. It's weird because as you're talking to your screen and you don't see anyone else, so you don't know who's listening, it's kind of strange. Cool. For those that are listening, so I'm the internal vice president. My main functions and job duties as IVP are simply to help core the Council of Regional Representatives function to the best to their abilities. So the Council of Regional Representatives come from all across the U.S. and Canada, and they come together and we develop projects that drive the regional initiatives and also the constituent and UNAVSA's initiatives. So they act as liaisons, and I am the one that mentors and drives their activity. I also manage the CPP process, so everything I do is internal. I help the directors, the CPP directors, manage their workload, also how to reach out to these nonprofit organizations to come and be selected for as a beneficiary, and then we also help drive new ideas with CPP and also any additional projects that really relate to internal relations. That is all IVP. So.
Okay, on to me. Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Quinn. I'm the External Vice President. As it says on the website, my main responsibilities involve being the liaison for UNAVSA to the community, and that involves, other governmental and relevant organizations, usually focusing on AAPI efforts or Southeast Asian specifically initiatives. I oversee community service projects, different MOUs. I officially oversee, quote unquote, the alumni relations cabinet position as well. And I unofficially, because I guess it's not in the Constitution, I run and manage the Visionary Scholarship. And then I guess any other press release that deals with external issues, that all comes through me as well. And that's basically it. Over to Timmy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for hopping on. So my roles as executive secretary is to keep meeting minutes with all what's going on within our e-board and also with other meeting minutes too within our organizations such as conference, CPP, cabinet, and so forth. Organize internal communication such as using Google Drive, Basecamp, and make a standard to where that our organization could be efficient and yet transparent. I also it was my role to publish out monthly newsletters, but fortunately we have our new marketing and public relations committee to have that out for you guys to see. And another thing that I oversee is UNAVSA's branding and seal. So I just want to make sure that whoever is promoting our branding is using that correctly, and not only our branding but also UNAVSA's culture as an organization. So both the logo and our branding.
Thank you. And
I'll have Hop to have on the phone call because he can't be on for tonight. So yeah, I'm dialing him in. So wait for just a minute.
Can you guys all guess what he does? He manages money. Ha! Yay!
And also, if you have any questions, feel free to please start entering them into the Q&A section of this call. I think you're able to. You should be able to at least.
yeah, and then on top of managing, actually, we'll just wait for Hop to get on. I think you guys can ask a question where it says, say something.
Okay, guys, so I have Hop on the line, so he's going to introduce himself and his roles and responsibilities.
Hey, everyone. My name is Hop Huang. I'm the treasurer. And then my main responsibility is pretty much handle all the finances for UNAVSA. It's one of those tasks that people don't really see, but it's really important, especially for a nonprofit.
Thank you, Hop. So, MP, I'm going to take it back to you.
Thank you. One of the another things that Hop is being very modest about, he's also in charge of financial education for our constituents, right? So on top of managing our money just as an organization, but he also takes on the responsibilities of educating our finances, how to budget, and all of the expenditures, revenue, and our financial models to those who are on different projects, whether it be our sponsorship, cabinet members, or our entire conference team. So that way they are able to make educated, or sorry, not educated, make well-rounded, good decisions on their budgets. That is it in terms of the introductions. I think we're going to try to troubleshoot a little bit on where we can have you guys ask questions. And then it is really weird just talking to myself on the screen.
Okay. In the meantime, well, how about I start off with some questions since we haven't gotten any yet. So Mifung, what's the favorite part about being president of UNAVSA? Has there been a standout moment for you?
When I'm standing on stage, flicking my hair. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding, guys.
Hey,
how about all of you guys answer that?
Like one standout moment that like speaks to me, or
yeah.
You know, it's interesting, but for me, it wasn't about, like, my one standout moment wasn't about me. Last year on stage, and I'm not trying to be cheesy or some shit like that. Hopefully, oh man, we're saving these videos. No, I'm cursing, sorry guys. But the one thing that really gave me the most strongest feelings about why I became IVP was when I had core standing on stage, taking pictures with each other, truly embodying themselves as one. Like just, you know, they're representing their regions, but together when they stand on stage together, that was so heartfelt. And then when CPP presented the check and we hit 6 figures, it was so crazy. And honestly, you know, when you become an e-board member or even any kind of leadership role, you don't make it about you. You make it about the people that you work with. And it was in those moments where I felt like what I was doing was of value and why I chose to do and commit the time that I did to see that come through. So that was my moment. Pretty touching, you know. My feels.
Okay. I have a similar. I guess I share in the same sentiments as Lucy. My moment was also wasn't really about me. So in the past, how I got started with UNAVSA, I was a visionary scholarship winner, and now as EVP, I have the amazing honor of getting to help with the process behind it. So getting to instill, more of a structure in terms of the application process, and now helping to select the next generation of visionaries. It's really, I don't know, heartwarming and fulfilling to see it come full circle for me, and then to see these kids, or not kids, but go on stage and accept the awards, and then see how involved they are the following year, either within their own communities or UNAVSA. It makes you feel good, So I think that's definitely something I'll take away with me after I leave my term as EVP. On to Timmy or Mifu.
I can answer. Okay. I think one of the biggest moments for my term, and I'm not going to be cheesy like Frank and Lucy, it's going to be about me. So as those who have interacted a lot with me, or those who have worked with me, knows that I'm very metric driven. So one of the things that I think really stood out, at least this year in recent memory, was my gamification project that we tried to put out. But before, it was a long and hard process to put that together. But during that, there was a lot of learning points. So, for example, one of the things that I was able to put together using the stuff that I've learned from work and data analytics was to grab the whole bunch of data that we've collected since UNAVSA 8, I believe, was when we started having full amounts of data, and see where our demographics was shifting, see where our historicals are, what kind of trends we might be put together, and that way we can have a stronger idea on who are we serving, why are we serving, and is this really the right direction that we're supposed to go? And through those findings, we were able to put together and propose the creation of cabinet to understand that, hey, there's different segments in our membership that can be served, and different projects that we could take on that doesn't necessarily have to be defined by just the UNAVSA Leadership Conference. And I thought that was a pretty big moment for us, because our e-board, I think, did a lot of administrative work the first year, and being able to say, oh, we could actually show all the administration up in the forefront was a really big deal.
Okay, so while Timmy's troubleshooting, then I'm gonna ask another question to y'all.
Well, I can answer the same question. As my favorite part of UNAVSA, I'm gonna multitask. My favorite moment of UNAVSA is I can't pick up which scene part of that I favor the most, but then I just really love to see the growth within our organization, or leaders within, that has been invested of what they're passionate about with helping out with conference, CPP, or cabinet. Like, it makes me really happy that we have people who cares about, our organization and the North American Vietnamese community. So it makes me really, my heart really happy to see that.
Okay, Lucy, can you explain how to ask a question so that everyone knows how to do it?
Yeah, so if you guys hover over whatever video thing you're looking at us, so you're gonna go and hover, and there's like there's like a box. It's like multiple boxes, as if you were to click on like Google, and they have like 6 boxes, and it's a tiny little icon. You click it, and there's a Q&A section, or like you click the Q&A, it says Q&A, and then you can go and ask your questions. You just have to hover over the screen. Yeah. I don't know how else to explain this, but hopefully that's helpful.
Okay. So the next question I came up with for y'all is, what are some challenges that you've faced within your position so far?
How honest are we supposed to be?
I mean, let's be candid. Let's be really honest.
Okay. Then I think the hardest part for me was dealing with feelings and emotions. I mean, we're trying to be like real, right? And
Yeah.
I think like I understand the importance of human emotions. I mean, it is the engagement factor of interacting with other people, and that kind of teamwork is really good. And I've been fortunate enough that my team has been amazing. My immediate executive team has been absolutely amazing, and I don't really have to deal with a lot of unnecessary pushback. So what I mean by that is that we challenge each other, but we challenge each other very, very healthily, right? We don't badmouth each other and then or just be extremely stubborn. We're very open-minded. So that helps make us grow, and not only as a team, but as individuals as well. But when I have to deal with other personalities that aren't as open-minded, or those who are a lot more stubborn, those who just put up a wall the entire time, it makes it a little harder for me to reach out, and vice versa. And I think that has probably beyond administrative, beyond my vision, beyond our like goal as an executive team. When we have to work with people who are not willing to extend that collaboration mindset, it makes it a little harder.
Thank you for being so candid. Okay, how about you, Lucy? Unmute yourself.
I actually found the solution, you guys. So interestingly enough, on our events page, we decided to post the YouTube link, so it's streaming live on YouTube. So sorry about that, but if you guys drop the comments in the YouTube comments below, we'll start to answer them. Sorry for the confusion, guys. There's a couple links that are kind of floating around, but I actually received a question. Is it okay if I start with a question?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So Henry asks us, what goals did you set out to achieve at the beginning of your term? Which of those goals have achieved, and which would you like the incoming team to continue to work on? Awesome question. How about we get Frank start on that one?
Okay, so this is actually pretty easy to answer. Let me meet you, Lucy. When we first started, Bifung actually asked us to make a timeline, right? So we had a timeline set out for like 1 month in, 6 months in, 1 year, and 2 year, which really helped us to, I guess, at the beginning, to align what we want to do and get done during our term. I made a list of like maybe 50 items. I was a little ambitious. But breaking them down, they're all achievable things. I've accomplished maybe like half of them. The biggest things is I wanted to add structure to the Visionary Scholarship because the process before wasn't well-defined enough for me. I wanted to create partnerships with a certain number of organizations outside of UNAVSA. So I wanted to create these relationships so that people know who we are outside of just like the Asian world or the Vietnamese world, so that we're more well-known within like other orgs like OCA, CIRAC, CAPAL, big API organizations in this country and continent. And then we wanted to reestablish the, what was it? The AMP program, Alumni Mentorship Program. That was a big goal of mine. That's something that I wasn't able to completely restart. We built the foundation for it, but that's something that I definitely will need the next Eboard to carry through, is to take what we've done with the Alumni Mentorship Program and the restructuring of it and see, I guess, where they want to take it next. That's the biggest thing.
I think to tie into the alumni mentorship program as well, I was a part of it when I first started. And this year, I think in lieu of running the AMP program, we actually developed the cabinet positions for the alumni relations directors. So ideally, those projects would, in a perfect world, fall under the folks that we've appointed to cabinet. But again, the AMP still does fall under the supervision and guidance of the external vice president. But again, we'd love to see the next Eboard take that to the next level and really see it go through with. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and I guess my final big project that I wanted to do was to create an annual report. So every nonprofit out there creates an annual report every year that talks about all the things that they've done throughout the year. It has their finances on there. It has metrics of what they've been able to do, so that when we market ourselves for other grants, it's a lot easier. That's something UNAVSA currently doesn't have. We have a sponsorship package that we use for conference sponsorship, but we have nothing that really explains what we do year-round besides conference. So by the end of my term, I promise to create that. And I hope that continues onwards, because, again, that's a really good practice for a nonprofit to do year to year. And I think that's it for me in terms of my big goals. Passing it over to someone else.
What about Timmy?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
All right, let's ask this question again. What goals did you set out to achieve at the beginning of your term, and which of those goals have been achieved, and which would you like the incoming team to continue to work on?
Okay, so coming in as UNAVSA secretary, I wanted to have more newsletters, and I wanted to have on a monthly basis to see that, this is what's happening currently within our continent. This is what the amazing things that our regions are currently doing, and making an effort to, make improvements within their own regions. From VSAs doing culture shows and whatnot to UVSAs throwing a big fundraiser. And I just wanted to people to see that these are, you guys as part of the VSAs everywhere within your own region are doing something great, other than just anything at, I wanted to see people see that our organization as UNAVSA is more than just a conference to wait for summer. I want our audience to and our members and potential members to engage with these exciting newsletters they wait for at the beginning of each month. So that was a great accomplishment that I set the foundation for, and I have happy to have NPR to continue that on a weekly basis. And one other goal that I would like to implement is that as secretary, I want to organize the past files and things that the previous e-boards has been working on, and the previous conferences, because it's really important to have a good transitioning for other directors and staff to know, who has done what, including with Basecamp. So I just want, by the end of my term, I wish to accomplish that, and whatever that the next secretary would want to implement, it'll be great for UNAVSA has a good transitioning period kind of thing. Yep.
Hey, how about you, Lucy or Mifu?
I think what is really, really unique about our team is that when we came in at the beginning of our term, we had our first Eboard retreat, and then we all took personality tests, and we're very like-minded individuals, and so our goals are very similar. What our end goals are, and that there are it's just how we get there. So in regards to our collective thoughts as a team, we wanted to streamline a lot of the internal processes. I particularly want to drive more data-driven decisions through metrics, and all of that can be combined into the 4 pillars that we introduced to the UNAVSA community, and that's through in everything and every decision that we do, it has to fall under a leadership, empowerment of, leadership, education, advocating our cultures, and through philanthropic work. If we're able to fall into those, either 4 of those pillars, then we're able to move on and continue with the vision. For my own individual vision was to create some type of program, and it's still very abstract, some type of program or standardization of how we can standardize leadership ability, so that way the people who go through the UNAVSA process and all our different roles and positions, they're able to translate that into something that can be used in the resume, and their work life.
Cool. For me, what I set out to do was essentially to build something and streamline something that could cater to all the regions simultaneously, but also focus on what we call the continental agenda and how we could grow and foster and develop that. I put that on hold for the first year, but I'm really starting to emphasize now that I've developed the regional agenda to lead into that. And that was really ultimately my vision. I honestly didn't have, I would say, everything fall into place. In actuality, over time, my vision started to change, and I think that was probably extremely impactful for me, because when you start off as Eboard and when you end as Eboard, it's not, you don't always imagine everything to be picture perfect, and it absolutely was not. But it was a learning experience, and I think when I first started, that was my entire vision, was how do I unify an entire continent, but at the same time focus on the individuals of each region. And I think I'm starting to piece that together. Ideally, I'd like someone to take up the VSA Academy platform again, so we could host the regional agenda and the continental agenda up onto that website, so we can utilize that as like a really safe sounding place for people to go to have resources. Ideally, in my ideal world, I think that would be the most beneficial. I haven't seen it come completely full circle yet, so ideally I'd like the next Eboard and IVP to take that on. So huge responsibilities and a lot of work, but really fulfilling. So I'm going to go on to the next question, if Eboard you're okay with that. If anyone has any additional questions on what we've asked, would love to share that. Cool. So the next question I had posted was, how do you feel about family leaders not being recognized as alumni? Not everyone has to answer this, but I mean, whoever feels comfortable answering, please do so.
I would like to get clarification on that question, whoever asked it, because the term alumni, it has already been defined, and Frankie would be able to just read out what alumni means, and it's basically a self-defined definition for how you consider yourself, right? So for me, that question is a little vague, and I'm sorry I'm not able to answer that question in full.
Any other comments on that?
Yeah, if you go to the conference.unavsa.org website and you go to alumni scholarship, I believe that's where you can see what the definition of what an alumni would be considered. We defined it this year, well, the alumni relations directors defined it, and it was passed through a vote via court. But basically, it's someone who has served on staff or an elected position for UNAVSA, staff being like direct conference staff or CPP or something like that, or now I guess the cabinet positions. Those will all be considered alumni positions. But unless you served on the board or directly on staff, then you are not considered an alumnus of the organization through that definition, which is what we came up with.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. I'm like refreshing it as I go. So the next question is to MP. With the last few months of your presidency, what was the most important lesson or piece of wisdom you have learned during your term, and how will you keep or use this for the future?
I think the most important lesson that I've learned is to openly accept failure. And I say that in a good sense. As long as I'm able to get learning points out of it, that's okay. But I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm going to continue to persist even though I know that there's like no good end results out of it, because it's something that I've really set forth of. Maybe it's not the right time, it's the right place, and being able to take a step back and really think if this is the right time to do that type of initiative. So that's definitely been on my agenda and radar the past couple of months. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, it says, how will you keep or use this for the future?
I think not being so headstrong when it comes to putting on more initiatives, even as our term is ending, and just reevaluating, being more patient throughout the process.
Nice. And I'll be more candid with everyone too. Like, being on Eboard, you get a ton of opinions. So sometimes it's being level-headed enough as a team to say, like, okay, which one is the most relevant to our organization's overall opinion, right? You can't always please everyone, but what you can do is impact them by providing perspective and also understanding where they're coming from. So I think the one thing I emphasized when I first joined as IVP was like telling even my own eBoard members, like, why is this so important? What is the meaning behind everything, and why would we ever do that, right? Having the resounding sound behind everything makes so much sense, or at least to explain to people why we do the things we do. So I don't know, when you're talking about important lessons, and you feeling I loved your answer, and I think that's the biggest piece to this all is, you know, why does our organization exist, and exactly why do we do things the way we do them, even if not everyone agrees with them, right? It's like politics, except we're a nonprofit, so we're not politics. Cool. I'm going to move on to the next question for everyone. A question was asked, what are your projected plans to transition out of your positions and pass along the knowledge of running the organization to the future eBoard?
I can start. So with that, I was lucky enough because the previous external vice president created a journal where he documented everything he did as EVP during his 2 years. The weird thing, I guess, about my position is that every external vice president has interpreted the position differently. Literally, you can go back, everyone has done it different, and I think that's also the beauty of the position of EVP is that you can focus on what your vision is for the position, because in the Constitution it's defined as either focusing on developing regions and or focusing on building those relationships with other organizations. I took it upon myself, to at least for me, to interpret it as developing relationships with other organizations. So what I can pass on are my contacts that I've made during these past 2 years, which have helped us grow a lot as an organization, and it's also secured us some funding. So that's the biggest thing that I can pass on to my successor is the personal relationships that I have developed, and then hopefully for them to continue them as they serve their term. Next. Mifu.
So for all of us, one of the requirements is that even when we step down during our terms during gala of UNAVSA 13, or no, closing ceremony of UNAVSA 13, we are still required to stay on for an additional 6 months. So during that 6-month transition period, we will have calls with the entire new elected executive board, as well as one-on-one calls. And that really helped me when I had not only Ani, which was the previous president, but I also had access to Dan, and ever so often I had access to Brian Baugh and Hai Todd as well. So those were 4 previous presidents, 8 years of knowledge that I was able to tap on, and I would like to continue to be an asset and a book of some sort to the next person who transitions in as well. In terms of a hard document that I'll be passing through, there's not a how-to book on how to be president, right? There's not I'm going to teach you how to interact with other people. I'm going to teach you how to be smart, and I'm going to teach you how to put everything together. There isn't that, but there is open dialogue that you can always have. And one of the things that I would like to have to put together is a how-to for Conference 101. And that only, and hopefully I can get that wrapped up before UNAVSA 14 really gets into heavy conference planning.
Timmy, how about you go give it a go and answer the question?
So I would like to do is, for secretary roles, it's all a matter of just internal processes that, there's just, it's tasks real oriented. I don't know how to explain it really. With just making an accounts and managing accounts, I would have the new secretary like on a call and just share our screen with one another and just walk through how to make an account through an email account through UNAVSA, how to make a Basecamp account, how to manage the social media accounts and so forth. So everything that the secretary that will have access to. So yeah, a lot of responsibilities with just secretary with just a lot of accounts. So it'll be a lots of fun.
Cool. So, funny thing that you guys all like have like really set plans. I didn't when I was like, oh no, I'm gonna transition this person. I always assume that core is gonna take up IVP. Don't assume that. It might not be true. Someone else might take it. It would be awesome. But I have started a timeline in which I'm documenting everything I'm doing, mainly because everything is pretty time sensitive with IVP, especially for CPP. So like how to manage that team is different from how to manage the core team. But at the same time, I think it's really someone stepping into the IVP role. I pray that they've done a little bit of research to understand like, hey, the internal functionalities of UNAVSA to really know the role. But I'll be guiding them for the next 6 months at least, just to and always have that. I think the nice thing from the last Eboard was that they were always there when you needed them over a phone call, and sometimes it's not about the booklet that you read and say, oh, this is exactly how to do something, and you've got to play by the year that it happens, and you've got to also play by how your members change and the audience changes, but having the guidance of alumni was really impactful, and I think that I'm going to move that forward from the last IVP. He did an awesome job of doing that. So I think that's it for me. And as a reminder for everyone who's on the call, I think there's 11 people showing up on the call right now. Just to reiterate, if you have additional questions, our question thing didn't work because everyone's on this YouTube link that we shared. Apparently we were wrong, but if you can, add your comments to the comments section in the YouTube video, and I will read them out loud, and Eboard will answer. For Hop, I know we haven't had a ton of recognition for our treasurer, but I hope you guys all have like questions for him too. We would love to have some post questions for Hop. He's funny, and I'd imagine you guys are all curious about how financials work. So please ask your questions for Hop. Okay. Did I answer the last question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, I don't know if I answered the last question. So the next question, Olivia asks, Lucy, as IVP, you are able to engage with CORE, Council Regional Representatives, and guide CORE through the duration of their term. How has this collective of leaders influenced or impacted your own term as IVP? Oh my God, let me tell you, they are the biggest blessings of my life. Because they, over time, as you start to develop CORE, whoever IVP may be, you never really realize that instead of you molding them, they mold you. And I think that's a huge piece for me to say to them. Mad props to my homies, to my CORE. They actually come in kind of blindsided, and they don't know what's going on, or maybe they do, and they're really engaged and they're really excited. But a lot of it is really developing each other and finding out what do we need and what do we need to do. The relationship building piece has been the most beneficial for me. Like, they taught me that versus my first CORE group. Gosh, it was pains and gains, right? And I think they taught me the most out of it in terms of, instead of having action items every single freaking day, it was like, hey, talk to each other, build a relationship, step outside of just our regular calls and get to know each other. And then I tried to implement that the second time around, and I think it's starting to slowly become successful. Building a team of 10 to 20 people is not easy, but they've taught me that they are putting in as much effort as I am, and that is what builds team camaraderie, and that's what builds projects and builds ideas and fosters creativity. So my answer is kind of all over the place, but they, as collectively as leaders, they've just been amazing. So yeah. Cool. I'm going to refresh. Hopefully you guys have asked us more questions, or Frank's going to make us questions. Ooh, sorry guys. I'm like trying to refresh this. At HOP, as treasurer of such a dynamic organization like UNAVSA, what methods or your favorite habits you developed during your term to keep yourself in check and constantly stay on top of your money game, quote unquote?
Hop is methods. Can we move on to the next question, please?
Yeah, I'll send it off to HOP afterwards.
I sent it already, so should we get a response hopefully soon.
I don't think there are any more questions as of right now. Hold on, let me check.
Okay, I can make one up if y'all are ready.
There's a question. So this is from Fook. Fook says, in your opinion, what important piece of history or information about UNAVSA as an organization do you think potential e-board candidates should know / understand going into their term?
For me right now, as external vice president, in the past, UNAVSA has been non-politically affiliated. So this is something that we have tried to maintain a lot during our term in terms of like neutrality, right? So that we don't isolate any constituents. This is a big part of our history of coming together. That's how UNAVSA started. It wasn't about the politics. That's literally how UNAVSA came about after that first conference of NAVSA in Boston. So that is a huge part of our history. It's up to the next board whether they want to maintain that or what they want to do with it. It's just something that has been us for so long in terms of how we, who we are and how we maintain this camaraderie amongst ourselves. I don't know. Maybe Fung can explain it better, but that's something that's been heavily influenced my programming and actions and thoughts as EVP.
I think just to sidebar, I realized I never answered the second part of the first question from a while ago, and that was what do I want the e-board next term to go, and that will go off directly of what Frank just said. My personal vision, or not a vision. There's no more visions. My personal hopes for the next e-board is for them to not only maintain the philosophies that we have created and built out the past 13 years, but to also become more humanitarian. And that is not something that is the collective thought of Eboard, but just something I individually myself want us to be at. And that would be any issues that come up on the other side of the world, issues that happen here domestically in the United States and in Canada, or not domestic, continentally, in the United States and also in Canada, being able to partner or to stand in solidarity with people who have been affected, whether it be our Black sisters and brothers or other Southeast Asian Americans and the general people of color community, so that we can, I think, just be more well-rounded and be more connected with what happens in the world. That is the end of my sidebar.
Okay, I have two answers for that question. One part of the question I want to emphasize is that I want to, for the new e-board, to emphasize that UNAVSA is not an umbrella organization. So a lot of times that we can mistaken as UNAVSA controls, this region and that region, and the regions are under us as UNAVSA. No, UNAVSA is a partnership organization that we help VSAs and UVSAs to provide, share and connect resources and leaders across the continent. So that's part number one. Number two is that it is a continental organization. So a lot of times I do hear we are a national organization, but I want to really emphasize that it's also the United States and Canada. So keep that in mind, y'all.
Hey, Lucy, what question did we skip over?
Oh yeah, we totally skipped over a question, and I totally didn't mean to. There was a question. There are a couple more questions too, but what was asked was, what are the other teams outside of eBoard, and what are their responsibilities? I guess I can start. Obviously, there's core and CPP. In CPP, each director, each team has like a group of staff members under them. They're considered like year-round staff. What other teams, guys?
Alumni relations, for example, is another one. They are responsible for maintaining the relations with the alumni of the organization, as well as the Alumni Scholarship Fund that we hand out every year during the UNAVSA conference. And then eventually, as we mentioned way before in this broadcast, the Alumni Mentorship Program. And then there's the IT team, Mifung. You can speak more about them.
So the IT, we're talking about cabinet, right?
Yes.
Okay. The IT team, which is currently unfilled right now, basically would be the point person in the point cabinet that's in charge of our digital presence. So just as important now that we are moving on to a digital age, to have not only just Facebook and social media presence, it's also really important for us to have official online presence, whether it be through our website or through other the other social media platforms, but do it in the correct way. So IT would be the ones working hand in hand with all the other cabinet members to make sure they project the same image consistently across all of the different mediums. Because it is something that is still new, our conference IT team has been dipping their feet into the general IT bucket as well. So.
And then we also created the sponsorship team, right, Mifu?
Yes, and the sponsorship team currently is being held by Anna and Donna, so co-sponsorship directors, and we realized that the importance of sponsorships or our sponsors not only stems from just conference sponsors, but people who really believe in the UNAVSA mission and values. And because of that, they want to sustain year-long partnerships and even longer partnerships, such as the Visionary Scholars, and then a few other ones in the works, which is really exciting news for all of you guys. And that in order to have these successful partnerships, we need to be able to have a point person that can work with them year-round. So we took away the sponsorship committee that was a standalone for conference, pull them out and say, hey, this committee is, or this cabinet is actually going to work year-round with our sponsors and our partners, not only for conference, but for UNAVSA as a whole.
And then finally, NPR team with Timmy.
Okay, so the NPR, the NPR team, basically their main goal is to recruit and retain membership. I know that UNAVSA, like in the previous years, our leadership conference is our anticipated event. So NPR helps with just engaging the UNAVSA family and future UNAVSA family members to within the organization, what's happening around with CPP, Core, Eboard, what's the news, the hottest news that's we can promote out there and set a culture to where that, like our organization does things besides conference. In response to the previous question that asked to Hop, I'm going to repeat the question and I'm going to answer Hop's question that he just submitted to me. So the question was, as treasurer of such a dynamic organization like UNAVSA, what methods or your favorite habits you developed during your term to keep yourself in check and constantly on top of your money game? Okay, so that was the question, and the response that he submitted was, at first, setting up those processes and learning how to navigate the complexities of UNAVSA. I ended up setting alerts for everything that goes to all of Eboard, so if I missed something, they would ask about it. The most important habit I got into was just keeping the Eboard updated on all things and not hiding them, especially when it deals with legal things or things I messed up on. For example, right now we're pleading an appeal for the first time to the IRS because we filed our 2014 taxes late. That communication and for me to own up to my mistakes are the best habits I've developed.
Cool. So a question I actually have for the team right now is, how do we stay motivated? And then how have you showcased this, I guess? It's a good way of asking it. Mifung.
So the past 2 years, I mean, admittedly, for anybody who's in any type of leadership position, it is something that we do this for free, right? So sometimes family things come up, sometimes, our own personal life gets in the way. But really, for myself, what keeps me motivated is to not only have a good team that is able to support me 24/7. Like, these people are they're my rock, right? I can call them at night. Last week, I missed out on a call because something really personal happened to me, and my team was just like, you know what, we got you. Don't worry about it, and they were very understanding. And that doesn't.
Her ass. Just kidding.
but what, and I showcased this type of motivation during my 2 years by going down a career path that I did not necessarily like, because we're all about trade-offs, right? And my trade-off was that I'm only young for so long, and oh, that sounds bad. And I want to give time in my youth when I'm still relevant to give back to a community that created me. So choosing and working for an airline isn't the most appealing job, but it enabled me to travel. And when I travel and go to these different conferences, whether or not the region asks for me or not, I'm there to show that, hey, because I can be there, I will be there to show that we are here to support you guys in whatever means that we can. So that's just personally one way that I show that I'm motivated and that I'm here for our community.
Awesome. So, Lucy, why don't you ask the next question, because I heard there's some more that are being posted.
Yes. So the next question that was asked was, how do you go about taking certain stances as an organization on issues, events, etc., of non-political, non-partisan nature?
Me. So
Go.
this is easy. So as an example, there was a big umbrella movement in Hong Kong, right, where students were protesting in support of democracy for Hong Kong. And so I drafted up a press release saying that we're in support of them, and then it goes to the core. So at the end of the day, core is the body who votes on what is pushed out and represents our voice as an organization. So I guess that's how it works internally, and that's what you get to see on the other side of it. And that's how we get campaigns such as the Why I Vote campaign that also we release, and other things of that nature.
Yeah, I think it's only fair to turn it to our regions to say, like, how do you want UNAVSA to represent you is the biggest thing. If Eboard were to make every decision, it'd be like saying, like, you want the mean girls to make the decisions, right? Because we're a team, we think alike, we start to know each other's habits. So instead we turn to core, who is really, I think, especially for my two teams within these last 2 years, have learned to be really unbiased and have a stance and have an opinion, making sure that we're voicing it out in the proper way. Just because a lot of things can be political or things that stretch out of our boundaries, it doesn't mean we can't recognize a lot of what's going on. And I think that's what we're trying to stretch at, is that we don't typically want to have a certain stance on a lot of things. We just want simply our communities to recognize what's going on and acknowledging that, hey, sometimes UNAVSA does have a stance on something, but we've voted upon it, or we've had some kind of discussion before releasing things like that. So I think we're stretching to be a more diverse organization, and that's our purpose.
Any other questions? Oh, sorry, go Mifa.
Oh, and then beyond just having an official stance, the most important part in all types of issues, whether it be APIA or just general issues, it's having dialogue. So being able to share the different conversations, whether it be a Bernie, Hillary, or Trump supporter, or anything else that we cannot officially say as a UNAVSA board, we're able to talk within each other and be able to educate each other about that way. And then all of us use our own personal handles or personal presence to be able to drive that type of conversation. Because at the end of the day, even if we are part of this organization, but we have to maintain a certain status, because as a whole we're not ready to take on that stance yet, we can still initiate and respect all of the different opinions that comes into play.
Any other questions? Lucy, have you seen anything new? If not, I'll ask another one. Okay. I guess with our terms wrapping up now, right? What are some words that you want to say to your successor? I guess as encouraging words that you could tell them. Starting with Timmy.
Um, for me, my greatest advice is that don't be afraid to be vulnerable. You know, this is your opportunity, if you haven't already, that to grow even further as an individual, as a better leader, as a better person. You know, this is the time that you're able to be challenged with certain things and have fun with it, and it's just, you know, and it could be a beautiful experience. If you don't take the opportunity, and then I'm sorry, there's probably other opportunities for you, but this one could not pass up. If you think that this is the closest that you have to your opportunity, take it. Okay, does anybody else want to answer that?
I think to go off of what Timmy just said, I think, so I'm going to have like two things. For whoever the next Eboard or successor is, the first one is it's okay to cry, whether you be, and I don't know if I've cried, but I think maybe. But I think it's okay to just let your feelings go. And I say that coming from a place because as someone who's specifically the president of the organization, I'm gonna be real. I get a lot of shit. So a lot of people talk behind my back. A lot of people tell me in front of me they don't like me. They don't like the way I lead, and then I'm like, well, that's okay. I'm okay with that. And coming to a point where I'm okay with how I lead, because that's just what I do, right? I'm not necessarily here to, or you're not necessarily here, and there will be people who will argue this afterwards, and that's okay. Like haters can hate, but to come to realization of self-love, and to be okay with your leadership style, to empower yourself, because that's the only way that you'll be able to empower others. If you're going to be a leader that's always people-pleasing, and a leader that is not confident in the way that you lead, then you're not able to inspire and be confident in other people. That's just my own personal philosophy, and just be okay with it. Roll with the punches.
Guess I'll go next. For me, I think the biggest advice I could pass along to the next IVP is leave your opinion behind, and leave your strong opinions behind. Not leave all of your opinions, but leave your strong ones behind, because I think at the end of the day, your selflessness will be able to provide perspective to people you're catering to be leaders. I think that was the biggest lesson I learned as IVP, was that I'm not serving myself any duty. I'm serving the 20 people on my core team. I'm serving the CPP organizations that we support externally. We're building those relationships. And at the end of the day, 2 years down the road, what you did is but a legacy, right? And what will matter is the next 10 years of this organization, and progressively thinking for others is the first step you need to take to become a part of this organization. And I think that's the strongest piece of advice I could give to the next IVP. You know, I just see people with so much potential, and that's what we're supposed to drive, not ourselves. And, you know, yes, we develop along the way, but the people next to us are going to develop just like you are. So your job is to push them.
I guess I'm last. So I guess it would be two things. Don't be afraid to innovate would be the first, because as EVP, I think specifically like the beauty of this position again is that EVP has the least amount of administrative roles that you have to handle. Like there's so many defined things and responsibilities that all the other positions have to do. EVP doesn't have that, so you have the luxury of trying to develop new things, new programming, and it's okay to try new things and fail, but at least try, right? And overall, I guess the biggest thing would be don't be afraid to ask for help when you're on board. I think we've learned that throughout our term that, you know, there's going to be times where you just can't handle the work necessarily maybe by yourself, but you have 4 other people there next to you, right? So, you know, don't hesitate to ask for help when you need it, because that can only make your team go stronger. So with the 2 last minutes, I want to do a quick plug. We're going to be doing some vlogs on the elections.unavsa.org website. You'll see them very soon, starting with Timmy, I believe, and they'll be released, I think, within the coming week before the election submissions are due. So please read them. They talk about our journey, and I guess like it's a big retrospective on how we've gotten to where we are. And the first one being tomorrow, according to Timmy. Okay. And passing it over to Fung to end the call, or Lucy.
Wait, did Lucy want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, read our stuff, enjoy it. We only put this platform out just because you're like, heck, it's fun to do. I'm like talking to God knows who out there. But it's also a good platform for you to say, like, hey, you get to know us on our regular Eboard time calls and our own settings and how we function and how we work. I think it's a lot of fun to do, but not only that, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this as well. Take everything we say with a little bit of grain of salt, so, but also, you know, look forward to the next 2 years for our next successors. I'm so excited. That's it. That's all I got for you.
And then I just want to end with the next few weeks for those who are thinking of applying is going to be pretty crucial. So depending on who you guys are, what positions you guys are interested, I would absolutely encourage those who have not already, reach out to all of us during the next couple of weeks as an individual, seeking advice, campaigning methods, and just to get to know us as people and as in our roles. If we do have enough interest, I am absolutely open for all of us to have our individual Google Hangouts, so that way you guys can ask more pointed questions for the role specifically. I know the 1 hour that we have right now, not only do we have technical issues, sorry, but it was very broad on what Eboard does. And yeah, just feel free to reach out to us. We'll end it with Timmy.
Okay, I have one further announcement. Thank you, Mi Fung. So tonight, the date is June 8th. Which is tomorrow, is June 9th, which that means submit your VSA awards or tell your VSAs to submit their nominations, because you get recognized through the whole continent and you get some moolah in your bank. So yeah, shameless plug-in. You have any questions, hit up publicrelations@unavsa.org. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye everyone.